day, everybody, and thank you for joining me for your introduction to sport entrepreneurship lecture. I'm Dr. Timoy, and I'll be taking you through this course. I'll try and keep this recordings as short as possible to show some respect to your data. So let's just quickly get right into it. Okay, on the condition that this thing is right. There we go. Okay, so let's start right at the beginning by defining entrepreneurship, and I'm going to take you a ways back. Okay, so let's go right all the way to 50 BC in ancient Rome. Now, this was the first civilization that developed some essential avenues for entrepreneurship. This is where we get a first glimpse of entrepreneurship. Okay, now the degree of entrepreneurial activity at that time was a function of regulations, um, social controls, and institutions. So it wasn't really about making money or innovation or coming up with new products. It was more of creating regulations and control systems for businesses and farmers most. Right. And then we jump all the way to Europe in the medieval age, in the Middle Ages, where the original expressions of entrepreneurship we found. Now we are looking at Europe because in Asia, I think it was China, around 1300, entrepreneurship was completely banned. So it wasn't something that existed in the Middle East or anywhere in the Asian countries. But in Europe, we can see an expansion of entrepreneurship at this point. We even have some trading between African countries and Europe at this point. And this is where some accumulation of personal wealth was acceptable as long as it didn't involve direct participation in industry and commerce. Now, this was because involvement in commerce was associated with freed slaves, and therefore it presented a loss of prestige, which wasn't good for politically inclined people as well as for social capital, which is relationships with influential folk and people. Okay, so this is also where we find the Greeks um, developing tax. Now, tax is essentially the first iteration of entrepreneurship. It's the first point of call for entrepreneurship. Tax, that is how we recognize the emergence of business. Right. So after we have understood that background and we now know where the idea came from, we can then get on with the business of defining entrepreneurship, which in general is the process of exploiting commercial opportunity, either by bringing a new product or process or model or system or structure into the market by substantially improving an existing good um, for profit, right? So that is what we call entrepreneurship, and the people who are involved in it are called entrepreneurs, and most of the organizations become startups. Right, so we're going to look at a few definitions of some key concepts, which I'm not going to bother to go through because you can read through them by yourself. There's nothing different there. There's nothing to explain or expound on. It's just some definitions of some words that we're going to use frequently throughout the course. I'm sure you've encountered most of them. Right, look, moving on to the next section, we're going to quickly look at some attributes of successful entrepreneurs. And I've given you a few familiar faces there. So what makes these men different? Okay, firstly, they are all men, which is unfortunate, but what makes them different? What makes them stand out? Why are they successful entrepreneurs? Did they come up with completely new inventions? Did they just improve on an idea? Did they have a different business model? What was their approach? What was their entrepreneurial idea? What made them different? What are their characteristics? Okay, so maybe if you can identify a few of them, and we can take it on the WhatsApp group and talk about who they are, um, what their companies are, what they're about, and so on. And then I'll take on the rest that were not identified. Now, here's another familiar face. I'm sure everybody knows this gentleman, Clive Maisiwa. I hope I'm saying his name correctly. founder of Econet Wireless. Okay, so what makes him different? What are some of his characteristics? And I've identified a few attributes of successful entrepreneurs. I said these people are very curious, so they're always searching for something new. What if we did this? They're testing the waters. They want to find out what can be done, what can be improved, what can be developed, what's in the market, what's not in the market. That curiosity then allows them to be flexible and adaptable because they know what is happening, what's changing, what are the trends. These people also tend to be persistent and that they don't give up easily, whether their ideas are welcome or not. They tend to push them until they are successful. They're passionate about what they want to do and achieve, and they're not people who are strong headed. They are always willing to learn. They're visionaries and they are normally highly motivated. Now, it would perhaps be fun if we could do a self assessment to find out which of these attributes you can identify in yourself and which you think can be developed within yourself to make you um, more of an entrepreneur. Right. So, I've said here that we have defined entrepreneurship. We've looked at its background, where it came from, where the ideas started to build all the way back to Rome in 50 BC. And now I want us to look at sport entrepreneurship to be specific. Right, so sport entrepreneurship is a unique construct through which sport organizations in particular create value through organization, operation, and assuming the risk of a sport related business venture. Remember, entrepreneurship is just a general business idea. However, for sport entrepreneurship, we have a sport related business venture. So, sport becomes the key in that definition. So, what are the types of sport entrepreneurship? Sorry about that. Okay, so there are a few. I need the spot to go away. Can you please behave and help me out here? Just a second, let me figure this out. Okay, never mind. Right, so types of sport entrepreneurships. We have quite a few. We have social entrepreneurship. Now, in social entrepreneurship, this is where you start a company with the intention of making social contributions or environmental contributions. So it's a socially responsible kind of setup. However, excuse me, it is designed for profit. And then you have an innovation entrepreneurship, which is a company that is started solely for innovative reasons. So you want to improve on products, you want to design new products, you want to um, elevate business models, and so on. And we have a big business entrepreneurship. This is a startup company, sorry, that is huge. So you start a big company instead of starting small. You start with a big company. The small business entrepreneurship is the exact opposite. With the small business entrepreneurship, you start small with the intention of staying small. And then the scalable startup business is where you start small with the intention of growing into a big business. So, this is a very big and interesting argument here. Are entrepreneurs born or made? Okay, so I wanted to have this as a discussion. I'm not going to give you any of my thoughts. There is a few ideas and articles that you can refer to. I'll give you a few of those in your extra reading. But there is an ongoing discourse on whether entrepreneurship is primarily a matter of inborn qualities or whether entrepreneurship emerges from external circumstances. What they mean by that is your environment. Does it encourage you to become an entrepreneur? Do your circumstances um, encourage you to build on those innovative ideas and start your own company? Can you learn to be an entrepreneur, or does it have to be in your blood for you to succeed? And this argument is quite important because it's one of the main factors that influence the development of sport entrepreneurship in particular. So there we have it, that ongoing argument that entrepreneurs are born and not made. Okay, so once we decide on that, then we can decide on whether we can make sport entrepreneurship into its own school of thought. Okay, so then we can remove that lack of standardization of definition because it is linked at the moment to different schools of thought. You can find entrepreneurship in economics, you find entrepreneurship in management studies, you find entrepreneurship in marketing, and so on. So each of these schools of thought will then define entrepreneurship in a way that will suit them all based on their discipline and understanding. And they cannot at the moment accept entrepreneurship as an established discipline. Okay, in essence, you are all studying sport management, not sport entrepreneurship. So we also fall into that category or into that bracket, and we cannot accept at the moment entrepreneurship as an established discipline. Right. So, like I've already said, we tend to define it by the premises of our own discipline. So we put boundaries on entrepreneurship based on what we know and understand. Okay, but nonetheless, we still identify that it has some role to play in economic development, particularly in the sport industry. Why? Because it creates jobs. If you cannot create your own companies, then you can't create jobs. Okay, so you need to have people who are maybe born or who learn to be entrepreneurs and then develop those companies so we can create jobs. Okay, so these companies also encourage innovation through new ideas. Once you come up with a new product or a new service, then you start your own thing. You contribute to social change by developing these new services and products, and you also help in the acceleration of economic growth. Um, Now, there is something else I think that you would find right at the top in our definitions called intrapreneurship. Now, that's different from entrepreneurship because while entrepreneurship deals with starting your own organization or your own company, intrapreneurship occurs within the organization. So you as an individual becomes the innovation um, person in that company, and you use the internal resources within that company to create or to make better. So you make the existing product better or use the company resources to create a new product completely. And you are the people who then make change possible. You give new innovation, new life, potential growth for this type of company as well as other employees. Right. Let's take a quick look at the entrepreneurial process. I'm sorry, I might be rushing a little bit. I'm just trying to save on time. But like I said again, we have the WhatsApp platform where we can talk, and I will open a discussion board on Google Drive so that we can use that as well for those who would like to try that. Right, so the entrepreneurial process is broken down into 5 phases. The first one being idea generation, the second one being opportunity evaluation, planning, company formation, launch, and growth. So, like we have been saying, you need to know the product that you want to put out there to design. So, you must have an idea of what you want to do, what service you want to bring to the people. And once you decide that, or maybe you just want to improve a product, maybe you want to improve a coffee mug, you want to make it better, that's your idea. What is the opportunity then? Do an opportunity evaluation. You go out, you look at the potential market. Are people interested in a new kind of coffee mug? Um, is there opportunity for that kind of company to thrive? Would there be sustainable profit from such a company? And then you plan. Okay, that's when you come out with your budgets. You look for investors. You decide if you're going to do it online, you're going to do it face to face, and so on. And then you formulate that company. You decide who's going to manufacture those cups, who's going to sell them, who's going to be the accounting manager, and so on. Then you launch that company once it's been formed, and then you grow from there. So those are the five simple stages or five simple phases of entrepreneurial process. You will have to go through them and describe them in detail, applying them to your own company when you do your group assignment. And I've conceptualized them there for you so you can see them in diagram form, but it's essentially exactly the same thing. Now, once you have designed your company, you now need to have an understanding of what you can expect from the business. So, when you have launched it, it's at stage one, the introduction stage. It's a startup. You've just opened your doors. You then look forward to moving on to stage two, which is growth. That's when you start making a profit. People start to recognize you. People start to choose your product over your competitors, and then you mature. You reach the stage where you don't have any increase in your customers anymore, and there's no decline. You're just steady. You're making a steady profit. You've become a household name. People would then choose you even if they have to pay higher prices based on the service that they receive from your company. And then eventually that stage four there is decline, when you become absolute. Okay, so maybe somebody comes up with a better product or improves on your own product, and then you become absolute in that industry. That's stage four. So this stages, I've made a note there at the bottom, this stages influence your business planning process, and you will have to deal with this business planning process continuously through all the stages of your business life cycle. Why? Because your budget needs to change, your marketing plan needs to change, your targeted customers, your market size, your product innovation, and so on. Keep continuously changing depending on the stage of your business. And once again, you will have to go through this in your group assignment. Okay, so what then is the role of research and development in entrepreneurship? This is a little bit random because all this is happening within that department, the Department of Research and Development, commonly known as R&D. Right, so this involves researching your market and your customer needs and developing new and improved products and services to fit those needs. Right, so this is where your entrepreneurs would be stationed, okay, in your R&D department. This is where you as an entrepreneur are defined in the industry in general without a company attached to you. Right. And there we are, the end of our first lecture. Thank you so much for your time. I do hope you will be able to join me for the second lecture. Yeah, I'll make this available on as many platforms as possible. Let me know if you cannot access it or if you have issues accessing it. And I'll see you like next time. Okay, let's talk more on WhatsApp. Have a good day. Bye.